Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of Mindful Pulses. Today, we're going to be talking about competence, the concept of competence, competency. Competence is defined as the integrated set of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that enable a person to perform a task or activity effectively in a given context. It encompasses knowledge, technical skills, and behavioral skills. Now, when it comes to the behavior, you know who I'm going to fault, most likely. Part of the competence is in a leadership position is your ability to lead, and the way you lead is not by dividing people. The way you lead is not by being self-absorbed. The way you lead is not by listening only to yourself. I think in the case of Donald Trump, you have an individual that is so self-absorbed that it's inherently not going to be effective for him to get things done because he's so inward and really focusing on himself as opposed to being focused on others. Unfortunately, in the case of Joe, you have a collapse of all of the other skill sets. The threshold really for competence is the action and then of course the results, right? So in the case of Biden, thankfully you could say that there's probably a whole bunch of people behind him, a whole administration that is actually running the day-to-day jobs. In the case of Trump, you have issues because presumably the team that works with him is a bit scared of acting or doing things. In fact, if you look at the number of his leaders that have complained about his past behaviors and that have essentially denounced some of his practice, it's a lot of people, several generals, etc. So anyway, it doesn't necessarily mean that some of his policies don't make a lot of sense. For example, the ability to manage the immigration and take proper steps, or fostering innovation and cutting brakes for companies. Don't necessarily disagree with that. What I will say is that in general, the quality of the outcome and the quality of the actions, whenever you have a leader that is self-absorbed, probably not going to be very, very, very good in general. I don't know, what are your thoughts? This is the temple I was telling you about yesterday, the Self-Realization Fellowship, which was founded by Paramahansa Yogananda back in the 30s. This is basically a renowned yogi and spiritual teacher who introduced millions of Westerners to the teaching of meditation and Kriya Yoga. And this temple is in Encinitas, California. It's a beautiful location, literally overseeing the Pacific Ocean. It's a huge compound, probably at least, I don't know, probably 5, 6, 7 acres. I don't own a Tesla car. I don't find them very attractive. I don't think they are very good quality cars in general. I may get one the day that they truly have self-driving capabilities, but I think that this concept has been wildly hyped, and if you talk to experts, you know that full driving mode is probably at least another 5 to 10 years away. So everybody that has bought a Tesla thinking that they'll be cruising down Highway 101 sipping a coffee, not paying attention to the road, got scammed. And then on top of that, California is about to impose taxes on EVs, and then on top of that, the depreciation of EVs is at least twice, if not three times, the depreciation that you have on a regular vehicle, which is a complete scam. One thing that I really appreciate here is the natural breeze and the natural air conditioning that we have. I was talking to one of my colleagues who lives in Phoenix. 10 in the morning, it was already 105 degrees for her over there. And here it's a cool 68. I always say, we live in California and we pay a lot of taxes because we belong to a club, an exclusive club. 68 degrees, perfect. Not too hot, not too cold. I mean, just unreal. So, how do you achieve competence? Well, I think it's a matter of practice, it's a matter of education, experience, and luck sometimes, because you meet people that will coach you into becoming competent. Ultimately, in the case of our upcoming election, those two individuals are clearly incompetent if you look at the definition of what that means. So we really are in a bad spot, and I wish them well on a human level, but I think the best thing that could happen is for them to have some kind of a health issue. And on the Republican side, to have someone, stepping in, because Trump would become incapable of running the country. And in the case of Joe, we're almost there anyway, right? So that's the best hope. And we still have, 5-6 months left, so maybe by September. I mean, when you are past 80 years old, anything can happen, right? Don't you agree? And that might be the best thing for the country. Age plays an important part, I think, also in the success. Not always the case if you look at Macron, who is very young, relatively speaking, young and arrogant, right? But maybe that's another thing that we could throw into the new set of common sense rules, right, when it comes to politics. Only one term, one person, one vote, remove money from politics, and put a cap on age, maybe at, 70? What do you guys think? Let me know in your comments. Gorgeous day. Gorgeous Friday afternoon. Catching that lip. There we go, look at that. How awesome is that? This is one of my favorite favorite point here in Cardiff. I always try to make a point to come here every day, maybe even for 5 or 10 minutes, just to look out to the ocean. You could say that I'm very competent at taking a step back and resetting every day. It's a skill. It takes a lot of practice. This donut place is packed. Unfortunately, donuts are probably some of the worst food you could have. So it tastes good, but it is really, really bad for you. My opinion anyway. And maybe the opinions of a few doctors. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning is that besides action and results, when it comes to competency, one key quality is being humble and becoming a student more than a teacher. And I think that you'll achieve competency faster if you are in a position of quietness and opening up the doors to others. That is a little bit counterintuitive, because initially, especially if you're in a position of leadership, you tend to become more of a control freak, so to speak. But one of my mentors told me that it's always better to become a student than a teacher, right? That's how you obviously continue to grow and perform ultimately. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So competence can be hindered also by age. I was mentioning age earlier. I find out that the older you get, the more credible you become as it relates to leadership position and competence, when it's not necessarily always the case, right? So I guess it depends on what field of work you are in. Obviously, if you are an engineer and you have very specific technical skills, that's a different story. But as it relates to general leadership management positions, with age, you typically have a stamp of credibility, and probably you're being looked at with more favorable sentiment in general. Anyway, I hope this video prompted some good internal questions for you guys. I think that we live in a very interesting time. I think that artificial intelligence, AI, will become prevalent everywhere. Yesterday, Apple announced that they were going to have a partnership with Siri on their iPhone, which is a masterful move when you think about it. So they won't have to develop their own LLMs, and they get to have an incredible licensing deal with OpenAI. But more importantly, it brings closer to the end consumer the ability to, at some point, I think it will be in our ear, to have access to basically a personal assistant. From that standpoint, as you look at the breakdown of competence in terms of knowledge, skills, behavior, the knowledge piece will presumably be available very quickly to everyone. So as long as you've got maybe the charisma and the chops to deliver the knowledge, the value to others in your team, you'll get that knowledge piece readily available, which is a huge revolution in itself, right? I wonder if this will not become a zero-sum game at some point, right? It feels to me that that's not necessarily going to improve the quality of life of some people, because I feel that there's going to be a huge gap between the haves and the have-not. I know that there is, and we'll probably talk about this on another video, that concept of universal income at some point, and we should all get prepared to focus on our life meaning, because AI is going to take over and we won't have much to do, and the biggest challenge to us all will be to give a sense to our lives, which I don't know if that's true. That's probably going to happen, but maybe many more years. But essentially, I feel that a lot of people are going to be let in the dust, and you're going to have folks that are going to be bubbling up to the top, which is already the case today when you have 6 billionaires, owning basically half of the wealth of this country, for example. So I don't know. There is pros and cons. I look forward to having a robot put the dirty dishes in the dishwasher at home. That definitely would be helpful, or maybe giving me a massage rub. That would be nice. Anyway, kidding aside, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please follow, share, like. If you haven't seen my other videos, feel free to check them on this side or the other side. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.